Before dealing with the Perek overview to Bereshit 36, I shall quickly map the entire Sefer Bereshit, which will place this Perek into its overall context within the Sefer. Sefer Bereshit can be divided into four broad groups. Segment number 1 covers Parshiot Bereshit and Noach, is primarily concerned with the process of creation, Adam and Chava, and the destruction of the world through a massive flood that took place in the days of Noach. In Parshat Lech Lecha Vayera and Chaye Sarah, the central characters are Avraham and Yitzchak. Toldat Vayetz and Vayishlach involves the interaction between Yaakov and his twin brother Esav. In Vayeshev Miketz Vayigash and Vayechi, we have an account of those events that led to the fulfillment of the first half of the covenantal agreement made between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Avraham, recorded in Parashat Lech Lecha, the Brit Bein HaBetarim, in which his descendants, which in theory would include the families of Yaakov and Esav, would be exiled into an Eretz Lo Lahem. During this exile, they were to suffer greatly at the hands of the host country. Germane to the Sicha will be the fact that, in actuality, it was the children of Yaakov that bore the brunt of the negative side of the covenantal relationship. Parshat Vayishlach is somewhat of a transition parsha, bringing to a close the narrative that relates to Yaakov, and in Perek 36 we have Esav and Yaakov parting company. Yaakov eventually emigrates to Egypt, Esav to Har Seir in the country of Edom. The subject of this entire Perek is Esav. Perek is divided into 3 segments. In the first we have a genealogical listing of Esav's descendants, and in segment 2 we have a genealogical listing of the families of Seir, after which Har Seir was named, and then we move further outward to the listing of the 11 kings of Edom during the days of Yaakov, Esav and their descendants, Edom being the country in which Har Seir was located. Har Seir, as mentioned earlier, is where Esav and his descendants ultimately settled. Perek 36 opens with a genealogical listing of the Esav family tree. Whereas Yaakov had married Rachel and Leah, women who were part of the family of Avraham, Esav was the first recorded incident of an individual breaking the taboo against intermarriage by marrying 2 women from outside the family unit. One was Adah, a Hittite, and Oholibama from the tribal clan of Seir. Earlier in Bereshit, we were told that this brought a great deal of angst to both Yitzchak and Rivka, which led Esav to marry a 3rd wife, Basmat, from the tribal clan of Yishmael. Worth noting is the fact that the names listed here in Vayishlach differ from the names recorded earlier in Bereshit, Perek 26. The text also records for us the male children that were born to each of these 3 wives. In the second subsection, we are informed that Esav moves the entire family compound out of Eretz Canaan. We have here a rather extensive list, which includes his wives, his sons, his daughters, the Nefashot Beito, possibly the servants, Miknehu, Behemto, Kinyano, his possessions that he had amassed, Be'eretz Canaan, Vayelech el Eretz, without specifying the descriptive as to which land he emigrated. Rashi addresses this anomaly and explains that on account of Yaakov's arrival, he was required to leave Eretz Canaan in search of a new homeland for himself and his entourage. And therefore, what is germane to the Perek is that he left in search of a new land. The recording of this information and the link between Esav and Yaakov is the thrust of the Sicha for Parshat Vayishlach. We then return to the genealogical table of Esav and his descendants, whereby the Chumash lists the grandchildren of Esav that ultimately went on to become the tribal chiefs of the Esav line. Most puzzling from this narrative is the fact that the Chumash informs us that Eliphaz, son of Esav through Adah, had a concubine, V'timna haita pilegesh le'Eliphaz ben Esav, and that Vateled le'Eliphaz et Amalek. The child born of this relationship was Amalek, whose descendants as a nation became the nemesis of the Jewish people throughout history. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Tzadik Tet Amud Aleph weaves a fascinating fill-in medrash as to why we needed to be informed of the identity of Eliphaz's concubine.